They rarely reach out first. They struggle to say, "I love you too." Their replies come late, sometimes not at all. They can disappear for several days and then return as if nothing ever happened. So you start wondering, maybe this person is simply emotionally cold. But the reality is more complicated. You may have fallen for someone who made you believe that if you stayed patient enough, calm enough, understanding enough, and asked for almost nothing, eventually they would feel safe enough to stay. But here is the difficult truth. Sometimes they didn't actually leave because, emotionally, they were never completely present in the first place. What most people fail to understand is that an avoidant person may not be running away from you specifically. They may be running from what closeness represents to them. Deep down, love can feel like losing their independence, their identity, or control over themselves. Once you understand that, something changes inside you. You stop chasing. You stop making yourself smaller. You stop trying to prove that you are worthy of being loved. And suddenly, you understand that connecting with an avoidant isn't about manipulation, mind games, or pretending to be someone you're not. It's about understanding the psychology behind their behavior deeply enough to realize why closeness activates their defenses. Instead of becoming another source of pressure, you can become someone who feels emotionally safe. Stay with me, because understanding this can completely change the way you look at your relationships. And if you've ever cared deeply about someone who seemed to disappear the moment things became serious, comment "safe." I want to know how many of you have experienced this. Think about it. Have you ever been with someone who made you feel like you were constantly asking for too much? Too emotional, too needy, too available, too invested? The more you tried to get closer, the further they seemed to move away, almost like you were following someone through a hallway that kept getting longer. One moment, everything could feel beautiful. You would laugh together, share a meaningful conversation, hold each other, or experience a moment that felt deeply genuine. Then suddenly, the next day, they would become distant, not necessarily angry, not openly cruel, just emotionally unreachable, as if an invisible wall had suddenly appeared between you. And then you would start analyzing everything. What did I do? Did I say something wrong? Did I become too attached? Should I have given them more space? You keep searching for an answer because you assume their withdrawal must somehow be connected to your behavior. But that endless cycle of closeness, distance, confusion, pursuit, and withdrawal doesn't automatically mean you're losing your mind. It can happen when someone with avoidant attachment becomes overwhelmed by emotional intimacy. To understand this, you have to look beyond their behavior and into their internal world. What are they actually experiencing when someone gets close? What do they secretly want while simultaneously being afraid of it? Because once you understand that conflict, you stop interpreting every withdrawal as a statement about your value. And if you genuinely love this person and want to maintain the relationship for healthy reasons, not because you're addicted to uncertainty or emotional chaos, you can begin responding differently. You can learn how to communicate without constantly activating the defenses they developed long before they ever met you. So who is the avoidant person beneath the behavior? First, we have to stop turning them into villains. Popular relationship content often portrays avoidants as heartless people who deliberately keep others confused, give mixed signals, and walk away without caring. But attachment avoidance isn't simply a personality defect. In many cases, it is a protective strategy that developed for a reason. Imagine growing up in an environment where emotional needs were rarely welcomed. Maybe caregivers were distant or dismissive. Maybe crying didn't bring comfort. Maybe expressing fear, loneliness, or a need for reassurance was met with criticism. Perhaps the child repeatedly heard messages like, "Stop being so sensitive," "Handle it yourself," or "You don't need anyone." Eventually, the child learns a powerful lesson. Depending on people hurts. So the nervous system adapts. I won't need anyone. I'll handle everything myself. I'll become independent. I'll stop asking for emotional support. I'll become so capable and self-contained that nobody will ever have the power to disappoint me. And that strategy can actually be rewarded. The child who never asks for anything may be called mature. The teenager who doesn't need reassurance may appear strong. The adult who never complains may seem incredibly easygoing. Over time, independence can become more than a behavior. It can become an identity. Then love enters the picture, and suddenly, that entire system is challenged because genuine intimacy requires vulnerability. You can't deeply connect with another person while completely eliminating your emotional needs. Real love eventually asks you to say, "I need you, I trust you, and I'm allowing you to matter to me even though you could hurt me." For many people, that's simply part of being in love. For an avoidant nervous system, however, that level of emotional dependence can feel extremely threatening. When attachment becomes stronger, their body may interpret intimacy as danger. The closer the relationship becomes, the more their protective system may activate. So they create distance. They become quieter, they withdraw, they need space. They suddenly seem colder. They may convince themselves that the relationship isn't right or that they need their freedom. And the painful irony is that this withdrawal doesn't necessarily mean there are no feelings. Sometimes the feelings themselves are what trigger the fear. The more connected they become, the stronger the internal alarm can become. And the louder that alarm gets, the more urgently they may feel the need to escape. Meanwhile, the person on the other side experiences something completely different. You notice them pulling away, and your own nervous system reacts. You become afraid you're being abandoned. You start questioning whether you're enough. You reach out more. You become more available. You try harder to reassure them. You explain yourself. You offer more patience. You make more compromises. But from the avoidant person's perspective, your increased pursuit can feel like even more pressure. Now they aren't simply uncomfortable with intimacy. They may feel trapped by it. And the more intensely you pursue, the more intensely they withdraw. This is the anxious-avoidant cycle. One person seeks connection to feel secure, while the other seeks distance to feel safe. Both are responding to fear, just in opposite directions. And if neither person understands what's happening beneath the surface, the relationship can become emotionally exhausting for both. But here's the part we rarely discuss. What does the avoidant actually want beneath all that distance, defensiveness, and independence? We spend so much time analyzing the withdrawal, the silence, the emotional shutdown, and the hot and cold behavior that we forget there is often another side to the story. Underneath the armor, there may be a deep desire for connection that exists alongside an equally powerful fear of it. And that contradiction is where the real story begins. An avoidant person can deeply want love, not a watered-down version of it, not a relationship where they have to keep one foot outside the door. They want to feel fully loved while still feeling like they are allowed to remain themselves. They want someone who can stay steady when they need space, someone who doesn't treat every period of distance as a personal attack, or turn every unanswered message into a relationship emergency. What they often long for is a partner who is genuinely okay within themselves, not someone pretending to be fine while secretly counting every delayed reply, but someone whose emotional stability doesn't depend on how attentive the avoidant happens to be that day. Someone with their own interests, friendships, ambitions, routines, and identity. Someone who chooses the relationship because they want it, not because they're terrified of being alone. That may be the deepest version of the avoidant fantasy, being loved by someone who is already whole, someone who doesn't make the relationship their entire world. Because avoidants don't necessarily hate love, they fear what they believe love will eventually demand from them. They fear losing themselves inside it. And when someone shows them that intimacy can exist without control, pressure, or emotional captivity, something important begins to change. They encounter evidence that their old fear may belong to the past rather than predicting their future. But I want to be honest about something. I'm not going to tell you that there is a perfect way to love an avoidant that guarantees they will stay. That's not reality. And if you constantly reshape yourself just to keep someone from leaving, you're not creating a healthy relationship. You're abandoning yourself. Many people caught in anxious-avoidant relationships aren't simply innocent victims of another person's behavior. We sometimes participate in the pattern because something about their unavailability feels strangely familiar. And I say that with compassion, because this can happen to anyone. The chase itself can become addictive. Their occasional affection feels incredibly powerful because it arrives after distance. A warm message after days of silence can feel like a reward. A moment of closeness can feel like you finally earned something that was previously withheld. And that can connect to an older emotional wound. Maybe you grew up experiencing love as inconsistent. Maybe affection depended on how well you behaved. Maybe you learned that attention had to be earned, that someone could withdraw it at any moment, and that your job was to become good enough to get it back. So when an adult relationship repeats that pattern, part of your nervous system recognizes it. This feels familiar. Not necessarily because it's healthy, not because you're broken, simply because humans often confuse familiarity with safety. That's why understanding avoidant attachment isn't only about studying the avoidant, it's also about studying yourself. Why are you attracted to this dynamic? What emotional need is it meeting? What story about love are you repeating? And most importantly, is this a story you actually want to continue? Now let's look at what an avoidant may genuinely imagine when they think about a healthy relationship. They may want something that feels easy, not shallow or emotionally empty, but free from constant pressure. They want to come home without immediately feeling responsible for managing another person's emotional state. They want to spend a day or weekend focused on their own interests without having to prove that they still care. They want closeness without feeling imprisoned by it. And here's the paradox. The harder you chase them, the more you may reinforce their belief that relationships eventually become suffocating. But when you step back for genuine reasons, not to punish them, manipulate them, or make them jealous, but because you are respecting yourself and continuing to live your own life, they experience something different. They may begin wondering where your attention went, what you're doing, whether you miss them, whether you're okay without them. For once, they experience space that wasn't created because they had to escape. It was simply given. And inside that space, they may finally relax. They may breathe. They may begin feeling curious again. And sometimes they reach back out. Not because you manipulated them into missing you, but because you stopped chasing and left them with a relationship they could approach without feeling consumed. But don't misunderstand this. Living according to an avoidant person's comfort does not mean pretending you have no needs. It doesn't mean acting independent when you're actually falling apart. It doesn't mean swallowing your feelings, accepting disrespect, or making yourself so small that you become invisible. That's not security. That's self-abandonment. Eventually, all those suppressed emotions will come out, and the emotional explosion can become exactly what the avoidant fears. Real security looks different. You build a life that is genuinely meaningful to you. You have things that matter outside the relationship. When they become quiet, you don't immediately lose yourself in anxiety. You don't send 10 messages trying to force an explanation. You don't write an entire essay attempting to make them understand your pain. You keep living. And most importantly, your independence isn't a performance. Avoidant people can often sense when someone is pretending. If you suddenly become distant only to make them chase you, they may recognize the tactic. If you pretend not to care while secretly monitoring every move they make, that's not emotional security. The person who becomes truly compelling is someone who genuinely knows, I want you, but I can still be okay without you. That kind of person makes a relationship feel like an addition to an already meaningful life instead of a replacement for one. And for an avoidant, that can challenge a very old belief, that loving someone means eventually losing themselves. There's another idea that can help explain this pattern. Think of it as an activation window, the period between when an avoidant shuts down emotionally and when their natural curiosity or desire for connection begins returning. During deactivation, they may become distant, emotionally flat, quiet, or unavailable. And this is usually the moment when their partner panics. You call, you text, you ask if everything is okay, you ask whether they still care, you try harder. But from their perspective, every additional attempt to pull them closer can reinforce the feeling that they need even more distance. When the pressure genuinely stops, however, something can shift. They eventually come out of that withdrawn state and realize you're not chasing them, you're simply living your life. That can create curiosity. They may wonder what you're doing. They may miss you. They may initiate contact. Again, this isn't a strategy for controlling someone. It's simply what can happen when you stop interfering with their need for space while also refusing to abandon your own life. Now let's talk about the behaviors that can intensify their withdrawal. Constantly asking for reassurance is one. Questions like, are we okay? Do you still love me? Or why are you acting different? May be completely understandable. But to someone who already feels overwhelmed by emotional expectations, repeated reassurance seeking can register as another demand they don't know how to satisfy. Another trigger is making the relationship the subject of every conversation. If every interaction eventually becomes a discussion about where you stand, what they're feeling, what the relationship means, or whether they're committed, they can begin experiencing the relationship itself as a constant obligation. Then there's escalation. They become quiet, so you become more intense. They withdraw further, so you send more messages. You become increasingly desperate for an answer, and they become increasingly desperate for distance. Within a short period, both nervous systems are completely activated. When they shut down, immediate pursuit often isn't the answer. Sometimes they genuinely need room to regulate. Over-explaining can create another problem. Some avoidant people have difficulty identifying and communicating emotions because emotional expression wasn't strongly modeled during childhood. So when they receive a huge emotional message filled with explanations, feelings, questions, and expectations, they may not experience it as clarity. They experience it as overload. And finally, there is the way pain is communicated. Your hurt matters. Your feelings are legitimate. But there is a difference between calmly saying, "I felt disconnected from you lately, and I miss feeling close to you," and turning the conversation into an extended emotional case against them. Healthy communication doesn't require you to silence your pain. It requires you to express it without turning your vulnerability into pressure. That distinction can completely change the emotional atmosphere between two people. The first way of communicating gives them something they can actually process. The second can overwhelm their entire system. That doesn't mean your feelings are unimportant. They matter completely. But the way you communicate them, the timing, the intensity, and how much you deliver at once, can determine whether they hear you or retreat even further. And this is where we need to talk about what you can start doing, not only what you should stop doing. Sometimes give them space before they even ask for it. It may sound strange, but offering space freely can remove the pressure that makes them feel they have to escape to get it. You might simply say, "I've got a busy week ahead too. Let's catch up next weekend." That's very different from withdrawing to punish them. You're showing them that their independence is respected, while still making it clear that the connection matters. Show curiosity about their inner world without demanding that they immediately open every door. Avoidant people can have incredibly rich internal worlds. They may think and feel far more deeply than they know how to communicate. Ask a thoughtful question, then allow silence. Don't immediately follow it with another question. Don't demand an explanation. Sometimes, a little breathing room allows a person to share something they would never reveal under pressure. And above everything, be consistent. Anxious-avoidant relationships often become unpredictable on both sides. One day you're calm, the next you're overwhelmed. One day you're affectionate, the next you're withholding affection to make a point. Sometimes you pursue, sometimes you disappear because you're hurt. That inconsistency can make an avoidant person even more defensive. But when your behavior becomes steady, when you're caring without being overwhelming, available without being dependent, and emotionally grounded even when things feel uncertain, the relationship can begin to feel safer. Build your own anchors too. Your friends, your work, your creativity, your goals, your interests, your purpose. Not because you're trying to look independent, do it because you genuinely have a life that belongs to you. When you become deeply connected to your own life, two things happen. First, you stop placing the entire emotional weight of the relationship on one person. Second, you become someone with depth, direction, and a world of your own. Avoidant people can often feel more comfortable with a partner who has their own center, rather than someone whose entire identity revolves around the relationship. And when they return after pulling away, don't automatically answer coldness with coldness. You don't need to punish them because they disappeared. You don't need to become distant just to make them feel what you felt. If they return sincerely, meet that return with warmth and consistency. Let them learn that reconnecting doesn't automatically lead to punishment, interrogation, or another emotional battle. But there's something much harder you have to face if you want any of this to work. You may have to grieve the relationship you wish you had.